We're going to talk about taking responsibility today. I'm titling it this just because this is the way we colloquially talk about this issue, especially in the United States, right? But what we're really going to be talking about is causality, and I want to just really open this conversation up because what I think is that the vast majority of arguments and discussions and conflicts that we have, especially now over when I watch the media and I watch these talk shows and I watch the talking heads and I think about Trump versus Biden versus whatever, ultimately in the end, what we're talking about is responsibility and causality. And we're talking about causality for human behavior, okay? So if you all can come on up, our volunteers for today. In the end, and when we're studying things like sociology, okay, what we're trying to assess all the time is causality. Why is it that some things happen to some people and other things happen to other people? And what's the cause of the actions? In a certain sense, in the world of sociology, we can boil it down to two fundamental types of causes, right? I'm being very general in this sense. But the things that you choose, the decisions you make, the things you choose, all of the impetus that comes from within us, on one hand, and on the other side, all of the things that happen to us, right? The factors and forces outside of our control. So it's like on the two of you and on the two of you, there are these invisible strings. And the invisible strings are all these factors and forces that are shaping your lives in ways that you may see, right? And ultimately in ways that you don't really see for large groups of people. But that's what we do as sociologists. We study, right? And even the personal volition, like sometimes you all probably make decisions and you don't even know why you did a certain thing. It just happens and you make decisions. It just comes from reading you. You did this or you did that. And there's no way of really knowing that. But ultimately there are these invisible strings and it's like we're just sort of puppets here. And we're just acting in lots of ways because there are all these factors that are influencing us. And what's fascinating about sociology is not the factors. There are certain factors that we all can kind of agree on, right? But there are a lot of other ones that are really hidden that we don't see and you won't know. And you don't know who that one person is that really shaped your life. Or you don't know the impact of living on that one block in the city where you live. And that block was instrumental because it allowed you to meet this person or that school or whatever happens. And so, and not just the good things, but also the bad things or the negative things, the things that don't really move us forward. Okay? And so we're always like we're arguing over this kind of stuff, right? Why is somebody homeless? Right? So how do you get home? Go downtown and find, there are a number of homeless people in town at any one moment. Find one of them and just start talking to them and try to pick out the factors and forces that led them to be homeless. How much did they choose? And how much were there things outside of their control, things that happened to them? And to what degree, can you parse those out? And then find large groups of people. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago, we talked about Haiti and Haitians. Let's talk about the entire population of Haiti. To what degree are Haitians making decisions for themselves, right? And to what degree, every Haitian is a population, and to what degree are things happening to Haitians that they don't really see and they don't really understand, okay? Okay, so turn your chairs around. So here's the thing. What's going on in this class is this is a class on race and culture. And so we're not just talking about individuals here, like any single individual or any single group of people. Like I can just pick out these 8 people right here or these 10 people right here and really try to understand what's going on with them. What we're actually doing in a class like this is picking out these larger collectivities of people, like that we identify by nature of their race, or by nature of their culture, or by nature of their nationality, or maybe by sexual orientation, or gender identification, or whatever it is, but there's something that we're going to pick out. And then what we want to try to do is make these larger exclamations about these groups of people that are just really incredibly complex. Okay? And so, like, how do you do that? Like, what I want to understand the things that happen in the lives of white people in this class. What is it to be white? And so for people are represented as white people, right? What is it to be white? And how do I really understand what's going on in the lives of all white people in this class, or all white people in the United States? Okay? And then I'm going to make some statement about it. Causality. Like, to what degree are white people making decisions about their lives that lead them to have the white experience? And to what degree are white people experiencing factors and forces outside of their control that are nonetheless unique for who they are, for being white? To what degree do I have a unique experience just as a white person? And so in a class like this, in sociology or in society, this is essentially what we're arguing about all the time. When you see a headline that says, Black Americans, XYZ, Native Americans, Mexicans in the Southwest are X, or Korean Americans Y. It's like all we're doing is we're picking out some factors and forces of causality. Okay, dude, you're following that, right? The mushroom guy, dude, he gets it, right? But that's the benefit of mushrooms. The rest of you, I don't know, but he gets it. All right? So it's cosmic, right? It's multidimensional. And here's the thing. The cosmic side is everything is happening all the time. It's always personal choices, and it's always factors and forces within our control and outside of our control. It's all of those things together. All right? So, here's what I want to do. I want to have the two of you talk. The two of you, I'm going to answer some questions to you. So it's Logan and Emily, right? Logan, this is Logan, this is Emily. Wait, where are you from?
Hello, my name's Logan Haynes. I'm from Elk County, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wait, hang on 1 second. I got to turn my mic up. Go ahead. My earphone. Say it again.
I'm from Elk County, Pennsylvania.
Elk County, up in the north.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
St. Mary's, to be specific.
Yep, okay. Yep. And Emily?
Yes, I'm Emily. I'm from Chester County, Pennsylvania.
Chester County.
Yes.
All right, Elk County, Chester County. All right. So here's what I want the two of you. I want you to explain your lives. So let me just say, when the two of you applied to volunteer, you both wrote on the questionnaire that you were in the lower class. Okay? So what I want you to do is take your life, everything you do, think, say, and feel is shaped by let's do factors and forces that you don't see. Tell me how your lives are shaped by things. Tell the class how your lives have been shaped by things that you don't see. Like, what is shaping your life? Or maybe that you do see, but what's shaping your life that's outside of your control?
One of the biggest things that I feel like has shaped my life, like, of all time, is like the family that I was born into, because obviously I have no control over that. And I was born into like a single mother household of like 2 kids when I was born into it, like me and my sister, and then my brother like much later down the line. And I feel like I found that my experience is a lot different from a lot of my friends, like not growing up with a father and then living in like poverty for a really long time, and then getting to watch my mom like regain control of her life. And now she's a nurse. She went to school for everything. So I'm less in the lower class now, but like the majority of my life, that's where I was like that's where I was, and I could see a lot of like differences in all my friends and like where I went to school.
Like for example, yeah.
For example, like a really small example, like Christmas. You'd come into school like after New Year's Day or whatever, and you'd go to class, and then they'd be like, oh, like the teacher would be like, what's your favorite thing that Santa brought you this year? And everybody was always like, oh, I got one of those remote control cars, the plastic ones that you drive, like that all the really cool kids had. And like me and my sister would usually be like sharing Christmas presents or like little stuff like that, and always be like hand-me-downs. And of course, we were always very grateful because my mom worked very hard for us. But it was always stuff like that. But I'd also have a lot of like outside supporting members because at the time my mom worked at a restaurant. And so we had a lot of supporting members that I did see not a lot of other people had.
Okay, so for you, when I think about, okay, your life,
My
right?
life.
You pick out these pieces. So money, did you own a house?
We did not own a house. We still don't own a house. But we rented under the same landlord that we still rent from now, and he's a family friend, so we get a lot of slack. So it's like when times that we couldn't make rent because of food or childcare or whatever, he would be like, it's okay, this one's on me.
So, okay, all right, so there are times when you couldn't make rent.
Very many times, yes.
And your mom, in the car that your mom drove?
It was like a 1991, like red, I want to say Buick. None of the doors opened. We had to climb through the sunroof every time we wanted to get in the car.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's cool as a kid.
Oh,
right?
my gosh, it was literally amazing.
Okay. All right, okay. All right, Logan, how about you?
I guess mine's a little bit different. Until the age of 9, I had two parents, and then they separated once I turned 9. And then after that, I was living with my mother, and she was living off of alimony because of that. And until 17, I lived with her. And then once I turned 18, I was kicked out of my house. And from then on, I was living house to house with whoever would take me in.
And who took you in? Like, who are some of the people?
I have my buddy Nick, who now goes here, and his family. They were very generous to take me in. And then after that, once his father was diagnosed with cancer, my aunt took me in because I didn't want to risk bringing anything back to them.
And so, okay, so factors and forces you don't see. So growing up, what did you see? What are some of the factors and forces that you saw that really held you back and that enabled you? Like, what are some of the things that were like these strings here that were shaping you, right? So imagine, like, what are some things that really shaped you?
Obviously, living in a single-parent household with low income, of course, shaped me. Like, one of the most notable things I noticed was whenever my roommates would go, like, grocery shopping, they don't really look at prices as much as I do, whereas, like, I will go down nitty-gritty to the ounce, and I'll pick whichever is cheaper. Like, that's kind of unique.
So that's even today?
Yeah, to this day,
today.
I'm still that way. And obviously, the choice to go to college, that was shaped by both growing up low income and once I became homeless, I kind of like immediately in my mind I have to dig myself out of this hole. Okay,
so let's go right there for a second. So now by the way, you were shaking your head with the food piece. Yeah. Do you have a credit card? Do you have a credit card or a debit card? Debit card. Yeah. Okay. So let's go with what is that thing when you said, okay, when I became homeless, I knew, all right, I'm on my own. Right. So hang on. But before we do, all right. So we talked. So now we're having this conversation about the factors and forces outside of their control. Okay. Like what's going on out here? Like what's making sense? How's that working? But now we're going to switch it. And now we're going to, because causality, everything that happens to these two people is both happening outside of them, decisions their parents made, decisions that other people made, where they lived, all sorts of things. But now there's also decisions that they made. So now we're going to come over here. So what happened when you were homeless and you decided, I got to go to college?
I knew that I needed a high-income job, and ultimately I decided my major based on the conditions I'd like my children to have. I didn't want them to grow up the same way that I did, so I ended up choosing chemical engineering for the salary.
So a lot of people let me say this. So a lot of people who grow up in your situation don't make that decision, right? They would be homeless and they would just be in a spiral of homelessness. What about you that said, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm actually going forward.
I guess the biggest factor in that was my support network. I had those people who were willing to take me and they believed in me, so I had to do something with that.
So they were holding you up and moving you forward.
Exactly.
And if you didn't have them, what? What do you think?
I don't know where I'd be today. I wouldn't be able to make ends meet. I wouldn't have even been able to graduate high school.
Okay. All right, so once again, here are these things outside of your control, right? So you're making these decisions, but these invisible strings are over you, shaping you, and along come this support network, right? And yet at the same time, you could have said no to the support network. Like, you could have just said F you. You could have just decided you wanted to smoke weed and do whatever, but you didn't. Like, you took it in, right? And Emily, how about you? Like, what are the specific decisions that you made to say, hey, I got it? What's your major, by the way?
I'm elementary education.
Okay, awesome. We need teachers are retiring or quitting left and right, so you'll have plenty of jobs, opportunities to get a job. What are decisions that you made specifically for yourself?
I just, like Logan was saying, like, I kind of made decisions based off of like my children, and I walked into the major knowing that teachers do struggle a lot with money. But I also told myself, well, it's been a constant my whole life.
What's been a constant?
Money, struggling with money, the conversation of money. It's been a constant my whole life, but this is something I decided to go with something that I'm passionate about and something that I'd love to do. And so I did that. But I've also I've been working since I was really young, and I've always been working just how my mom would say, you work hard, you get what you need, and then you move on. And so at some period of time, I was working multiple jobs, even before I was legally allowed to work, and that was just a constant in my life.
And so what brought you to that place like that? Where did you get that motivation or that impetus from?
So I want to say my mom, but it's the birth of my little brother. He was born in 2010 when I was 8, and he's literally the light of my life. I love him so much. And he's 11 now, and I really, really wanted him to have the not the childhood I never had, but exactly like that. I didn't want him to worry about where am I going to go when my mom goes to work? Who am I going to stay with? I'm worried about what I'm going to eat next. I never wanted him to worry about that. And it's safe to say he's not worrying about it.
So you wanted to be the second mother or the big sister?
Yeah, I really wanted to be able to give him the fun gifts that I didn't get to have and all that stuff.
Cool. Very cool, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to gloss over that. That's effing awesome. Can I assume you have loans?
Yes, you can assume.
So when you graduate, you'll have a certain amount a significant amount in student loans.
I will have significantly less because of the estimated family contribution, all that stuff. Penn State did really serve me a nice one. So I'll have significantly less, and I do some certain loan. I don't know which one it is, but I'm able to make payments on it now, and I'm actively still putting money towards it. Okay. And I worked a lot, and I've saved all my money that I didn't spend on my brother or textbooks and stuff like that, so I'm comfortably able to do that right now.
Okay, awesome, man. Bro, you gonna have loans? Can I assume you have loans?
Yeah, I'll have about 20 grand in loans at least by the time I graduate.
Oh, that's not a lot.
Well, I'm paying it all off myself.
Yeah?
That and
Are you
housing.
paying it off right now as you go along?
Exactly.
I got you. Okay, so here's what I see, right? The two of you, I see this example of, so we're all in the same boat, Everybody, every human being who lives, every human being who ever will live, every human being anywhere in the world is in this space of experiencing their lives as things that happen to them and as decisions that they make. Okay? And we see how it plays itself out. The two of you could have had other things happening in your lives. You could have made other decisions. But it turns out for the two of you that you've made particular decisions. And it's not chance that you're here at Penn State, right? You're here because you made the decisions to start working, to save your money, to figure things out. You had support. You had some support. Yeah, I am assuming you had key people along the way that helped you apply to college and all those things, right? Okay, so the two things are fused. You can't pull it out. You can't pull. Look. So hang on one second. May I actually come over here? So hold tight. All right. So Bella, let's start with you. So where are you from?
I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania.
Erie, Pennsylvania. And you identified as upper class, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Jack, you are from Dallas. Wait, go take.
Yeah, I'm Jack. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
And you identified as upper class.
Yes.
So tell us what's it like being upper class? Well, start with you. You have the mic. What's it like? Tell us your life. Walk us through some of the sociology of your life. You heard some of the stuff they said. What's?
Oh, the big difference is probably school, because I don't know, 98% of my graduating class is in college now. It's just kind of where I am. Schooling is the big thing, and a lot of the time when you're growing up, you're kind of not told directly, but they kind of guide you into thinking that the straight shot toward being successful is going to college, getting a degree, and getting a nice job.
Were you ever not going to go to college?
No.
So you were definitely going out of state to college and a conversation at your dinner table? Because it would have been a lot less expensive to go to U of T or something.
It was more about the program and the degree than the money, honestly.
Okay. And so who was money an issue in your? Well, hang on. We're not. Just like I didn't want to get really too personal with you. We don't have to get real. But was money an issue at all? Was that?
Not really.
Do you have a credit card?
Yes.
When did you get your first credit card?
About a year ago, 2 years ago.
Do you have a car?
I do have a car.
When did you get your first car?
Right when I got my license, 16.
What kind of car?
Well, I kind of inherited one of the cars that my parents already owned. I drove a 97 Ford pickup truck.
All right, which is standard for Texas. All right. You got to have at least one in every driveway, right? Okay. Do you have a car, by the way?
I do have a car. She is my pride and joy. She is a 1998 Grand Jeep Cherokee with 267,000 miles on her, and she was free.
Dude, awesome, man. Do you have a car, bro?
Yeah, I just bought a car this year.
Yeah? Yeah. Cool. Used? New?
Used.
Yeah? What kind?
2011 Suburban.
Dude, killing it, man. All right, bro. Hey, by the way, the two of you, you're zero. If you're feeling some kind of way about, these two people are talking about growing up poor, unlike I grew up rich, there's zero, you feel nothing about that. This is your life, man. Awesome. Revel in it. Enjoy it. It just is what it is, right? So, okay, so that's not an issue for you. When you so how'd you get here, though? Okay, well, hang on, wait. We're going to come back. Bella, tell us about the invisible strings for you, your parents.
So both of my parents actually grew up low class. They both came from poor families. but they now both have advanced degrees in medicine. So growing up, probably from the time I was in like kindergarten to like the time I was in middle school, we were just normal people. But once my dad actually went back to school and became a physician, he started making more and more money. So that's when I kind of started to see the other side of things, and see how life was different. Once we started to have more money, I guess.
So you guys have a house.
Yes,
Do you have a car?
I do.
What kind of car?
I have a 2021 Subaru Legacy.
Okay. And are you, and it's like where you went to college, was it an issue? Did you talk about how much it cost? How much was that on the table versus where you went?
Yeah, it wasn't really spoken about. It was more of where I wanted to go, what program I wanted, and
What was the best program for you?
Penn State is one of the only schools with an immunology program, so that's why I decided to come here.
Okay. And so paying your tuition bill, do you guys even see your tuition bill, or does it just get sent to your house? You see it? You guys get it?
I see it, but it's not really.
Okay.
I don't have to take out loans or
Good.
anything for
Awesome, man. Awesome. So tell us about, now let's turn around. So here's the way this works, right? Typically what happens is, we look at Emily and we look at Logan and we say, oh, Emily and Logan, like they were one down, and look, they have to, in order to get where they're at, look, they had to work really, really hard. They both have jobs. You talked about saving money. You both are really cautious and very careful about what you're doing, because you know what it's like to not have money. And so you got to be really careful, right? And then we look at, like Bella, and we look at Jack, and then the standard conversation is, oh, look, life just gets handed to these two people on a platter, right? They grow up in these families, and it's all good, and life's really easy, and they somehow, all these good things happen to them. So Logan and Emily, all these good things happen to them because they make them happen, right? There's that. They make it happen. They're doing it. They're choosing. They're bringing this on themselves because they easily could have spiraled. But Bella and Jack, all these good things are happening to them because they happen to be born in these families that had money and wealth and privilege and so on. And so that's why they're here. And so for Logan and Emily, they're here because they made decisions to have a better life than the life they had growing up. And they were very careful and very cautious, and they're thinking in a very, very calculated way. And so it's very easy to look at them and say, oh, they are responsible for being here because look what they did. Then we look at Bella and Jack and we say, here are these two privileged kids. Come on. Like you just got lucky. You were in this family, and here you are, and you're privileged, and you made it happen, and what the luck of the draw. As though they make no decisions. It's just stuff that happens to them. So now tell us, what decisions are you making? Tell us about your life. Like, what decisions have you made along the way to say, like, hey, I'm here, and in 20 years I'm going to be wherever I am because of that.
So I've been lucky to be able to decide like what I want to do with my life based on like passion, not based on like needing an income. It just happens that I want to pursue medicine because that's what I love. But I didn't have to make that decision because I needed a high income job. I made the decision because I wanted to pursue that.
Okay. All right, go ahead. What else? Like what? Like do you study? Do you work hard? What's your GPA?
Yeah,
Do you work hard?
I do.
You have a good GPA?
Yeah.
What do you study? Like how much? Did you study in high school? Did you like?
Yeah, I did. I spend most of my time studying.
I thought rich kids don't study. You just like get shit handed to you.
No, definitely struggling.
Oh yeah? All right. Okay, that's how it works. Okay. Meaning that you woke up in the morning and you decided, hey, I got to work really hard today at school. And you brought homework home and you did the homework and you made sure to do it all. And when you took the SAT, did you take an SAT prep course or?
No, I just had one of those books. I went through that.
But you felt prepared to take the SAT?
Yes,
You did well. Can I assume you did well?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. But you did well not because you were hanging out and smoking weed with your friends. Your friends probably don't smoke weed, but drinking beer after high school, right? And you worked hard because you made decisions to work hard. Can I assume that?
Yeah.
Your parents didn't lock you in a room and demand that you do that?
Yes, they did
Okay.
not.
Okay. So now we go with our minds and our choices, right? The things that are happening to you are happening because of choices that you're also making, right? Okay, Jack, how about you? Is this just been given to you on a platter, or what do you do?
I mean, I went to a really, really competitive high school. So
What do you mean by competitive?
like the standard for grades and the level of courses and just kind of where you would fall in an average high school with a certain GPA is a lot lower than where you would, or is a lot higher than you would be at my school.
If I had gone to your school, I would probably be in the bottom 2%. My high school GPA, which was a working class burnout high school, I had a 2.37. So I probably wouldn't have even they probably would have kicked me out, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, all right, okay. So do you study? Did you get good grades?
I had good grades. I didn't really study though.
So you didn't have to study, but you got good grades. And you didn't, did you ever get arrested?
No.
Did you ever get did you ever get arrested? All right, okay, got it. So, and how much, so I want to go back to this. Everything we do, think, say, and feel, where you end up. So I'm gonna venture to guess, Jack, in 20 years, you're gonna have a job, unless climate collapse takes us all down, in which case, whatever. But you're gonna have a job, and you're gonna have a good job, it's gonna be a solid job, you're gonna make a decent amount of money. And I want you to tell us, we're gonna look at you in 20 years, I want you to tell us right now, what are the choices that you made all through your life and now that led you to having that good job, as opposed to things that just happened for you?
I mean, I still did the work. They're not just going to hand you a good grade if you just didn't do the assignments and you didn't do good on the test. So I definitely did all my work and I paid attention and I did all the, I don't know.
You followed the rules.
Yeah, I followed the rules. I didn't get into anything illegal or anything like that.
Okay. And here at Penn State, same thing? You're a freshman, right? So here at Penn State, same thing? You're
Yeah,
or
pretty
are you slacking?
head in the book. I'm gonna try to enjoy it, but I'm mostly focused on my major,
What's your major?
computer science.
Okay. And so what year are you? I'm a sophomore. Okay. So have you thought of anything else that you're doing or have done that's 20 years from now when we're looking at you and saying hey, the people that say, hey, you guys made it. You grew up in a rich family. Of course you have a good job. You're a doctor and you're this computer science guy and making a lot of money and whatever. Of course you are, right? Because you grew up in a rich family.
I think that with education in general, it doesn't matter where you come from. It's a matter of how hard you're willing to work and what you're willing to do to get to where you want to be. And maybe I'm just overlooking it, but I don't necessarily think that income correlates to how hard you work in school.
Well, let me ask for the two of you, right? So yes, but let's test that for a second, okay? So you guys you've both been working since when? When did you?
I started working at 14.
Yeah, so did I. I worked at a Hardee's. Dude. I worked 40 hours a week when I was 14. No wonder I flunked algebra. Dude, all right, so started working at 14.
Yes.
So do you think, how many hours were you working through high school on average during the school year?
During the school year, I'd say probably 20 to 30.
Uh-huh.
More on like the third year side.
Did that take away from your studies, do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, I graduated pretty far up in my class, and I don't think I really struggled in school.
How do you think you would have been if you went to Jack's High School?
Well, no offense to Jack's High School, mine was pretty competitive too.
Yeah.
So, no offense, but like hearing you explain like the way your school works I feel like it's very similar to the way that mine worked. Like everything was like really competitive. It was always like about like even like the popular group of kids were the ones that were like the smart kids.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it was like a K through 12 school, and it was college readiness. So that's why like my mom put me in it to make sure that I had the
Okay.
mentality for college.
Okay.
So.
All right. Bro, and you worked
Yeah.
through high school?
Yeah, I worked throughout high school. I started when I was about 15.
So dude, fucking awesome, man. You're the best. I'm going to give you a job, but another job. All right, so listen, do you think working took time away from studying?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I would just do it after work, but I mean, I'd much rather have the time to myself instead of working, but
Yeah. I mean, we know, for example, one thing we know is that the scores on SAT scores are correlated with family income. So regardless of what your race or your ethnicity is, the higher your family income, the higher your SAT score across the board, right? So I don't know why that is. It's not just like because you can afford, help or tutoring or one thing after another. I don't really know, but we know that. So we know that as there's a certain way in which, and then the higher the SAT score, the more likely you are to get into certain universities or get certain scholarships or whatever the case is, right? Okay, so here's the thing, right? So we've established right now that life isn't just given to the two of you. Like you have to jump through the hoops and do everything you have to do. Sometimes the hoops are easier to see, right? Like maybe they're laid out for you in some way. So you easily could have gone, there are a lot of paths you could have gone down and you would not be here. But you made choices, okay? And you made choices, right? Okay, so look, here's the thing, and then we're gonna do something in a second. So here's the thing. Y'all ready? Always, by the way, the reason we're doing a whole class on this is because this is the single most important kernel of truth inside of every sociological debate is choice and chance, freedom and determinism, our minds and choices or factors and forces outside of our control, whatever we want to say. The two single most important ways of understanding causality. A good sociologist, bad sociologists, or people who aren't really, they're not really focusing on it, are only going to think about the factors and forces that we don't see. The invisible strings that happen to us, right? That are organized, that organize our lives, right? For the two of you, it's like it's homelessness for you. It's near homelessness for you. It is not making rent money. It's like, also what happened before you were homeless, right? All the decisions, it's all the people in your lives, like all these things that happen. And then at the same time, it's choices. Because in every single day, the two of you are making choices. Are you going to go this way, or this way? So both are absolutely 100% true. And so people who are more liberal in their orientation, like people who are like social justice type people, they tend to focus on issues of inequality. And they tend to focus on the degrees to which things happen to some people. And they de-emphasize the choices that people are making along the way. So they would look at you two right here and they would say, look, you lived in this environment, which of course you were going to be successful. And it's like, no. In this environment, you're still making choices all along the way. It doesn't matter. And yet we turn around and say, yeah, but there is this other environment happening. So what is it? What's going on? And the fact is, the two things are fused together. It's always choices that we're making and things outside of our control. It's always, always, always happening together. Conservative people want to emphasize choices. People who offer or have a more conservative orientation in the way that they're being. It's all about choices. Like, look, you can grow up poor, the two of you, no matter what, you can grow up poor and you can overcome that. Just make good choices. Like, work hard, get jobs, save your money, do everything you got to do, and you can overcome that, right? That is the way to do that. And what the problem is that people like the two of you who grow up in your shoes, they start, this is important. It's called taking responsibility, because what people who are often more conservative in their orientation will argue is the only thing you can do is take responsibility. And if you don't make it, then clearly you did not take responsibility for yourself. And the people who are more liberal in their orientation, right, the social justice people say, look, people would make it. They would be able to overcome the barriers that are in front of them if they would be able to make different choices if they didn't have the barriers in front of them. So remove the barriers and people will make different choices and then people will succeed. But the fact of the matter is neither one of those arguments holds water because both are true together. You have to see it together. So the conservative orientation is, hey, take responsibility, work harder, make better decisions, make different decisions, and then you will be better off. The more liberal orientation, and which is true, the more liberal social justice orientation is remove the barriers to upward mobility, growth, expansion, etc. If you just remove those barriers, then people will have a greater chance of succeeding, and then they will ultimately be more likely to succeed. But the problem is, you got to remove the barriers. And the other side says, no. You got to change people's thinking. Get people to take responsibility for how they're seeing the world. And over here it's, no. Remove the barriers. That's why liberal people are always talking about inequality and the barriers and, jobs and homelessness and one thing after another. It's always that. It's always the problems in society, right? We need fair housing and better housing because, those are the things that people like you all, people who are poor, need. So give them an equal opportunity. More conservative people are saying, no, we don't need that. Look, just like the two of you, you didn't need that. You just need, all you had to do is make the decision to succeed and you will succeed. But I don't have two people in here who grew up like the two of you who did not succeed, who weren't able to make those choices, right? And I don't have two people in here like you who are, maybe they're in college, but they're screw-offs, right? You both graduated them with people, right? Can I assume the two of you? You graduated with people who had every opportunity and they're just throwing it away? Okay, we didn't bring them in. It's not an automatic ticket. Growing up with money is not an automatic ticket to success. Growing up without money is not an automatic ticket to a life of misery and suffering and struggle. They go together. And what happens is, once we start talking about personal choices, if I'm in this conversation, this is what I was going to do when I had you stand up. If I have this conversation about personal choices, I turn my back on the other one. And if I have the conversation about the obstacles, because there are obstacles, we live in a very unequal world. You've already seen some of the data. The United States is incredibly unequal. If I start talking about all the obstacles, then in order for me to really explain and articulate all the obstacles and stuff, right, to really lay it out and do a good job, what that means is I have to turn my back on the personal choices. I can't talk about personal choices because then it just sounds like mumbo jumbo. It's like different language. Now I'm just talking this language. Obstacles, man. There's so much inequality. We really need to fight for justice and bringing about a greater sense of equality and giving people fair opportunities. And if everybody had the fair opportunities, we wouldn't see the problems that we see today, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I could just talk for days and weeks and months about that. Okay, but that means I can't talk about the other. And if I talk about this, personal choices and all the things that go along with it, then I can't talk about that. And so what happens is, what we see is that people are taking one side or another, when in fact you have to take both sides. The two have to go together. Doesn't matter. Man, dude, you got it, right? You guys got it, right? You got that? Like, for example, I know for you that it's pretty clear that you definitely would not be sitting here but for those people who came along in your life. But then you say, like, okay, well, hang on a second. But maybe they come along in your life and helped you because you were a cool kid. Because you made decisions that I'm going to be a nice kid. I'm going to be a nice person. I'll be responsible, right? You didn't go to their house and trash it, right? Okay, so now you're a nice guy. And so you come along, look at you. You seem like a nice guy. So if I'm your neighbor or something, I'm like, this Logan kid? Come on, man, we should help him out. If you were a jerk, I probably wouldn't, but you made choices to be a nice guy, right? So I'm like, hey, maybe we should help Logan out. Personal choice. But those people were essential for who you were. If you didn't have them, you wouldn't be here. You said that, and I think you're probably right. You would not be here. And so, the two are fused. You can't break it apart.